Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Chant It Down. I'm your host, Loomis, and this is episode 320. ChantItDownRadio.com is a website. SacredSite.info is a website for the documentary series. Welcome, everyone. And we have another show coming here. And I always come back to the subject of chemtrails and this electromagnetic grid as one of the most important subjects that people can know in the mess of today's world of truth seeking. I really do. Big events happen, they'll steal our attention. Smaller events steal our attention, but all this moves on behind the scenes. We've been getting sprayed full scale since the mid to late 90s, and the progression of this electromagnetic grid has accelerated greatly. And when COVID happened, they didn't stop putting up 5G. It was that important. And chemtrails, invasive nanotech, the constant push for the use of smartphones in our life and antennas for frequencies have been thwarted one bit. They've not been thwarted at all. They kept multiplying. It only continues on behind the scenes. And we can get stuck on all the latest news, all the fleeting events, but that stuff comes and goes. This stuff hasn't shifted off course one bit. And the actual planet and everything living on it has been altered because of it. And that's why I like the work of Elana Freeland. She dives deep into this study. In fact, I don't think anyone comes close to the scientific study, the breakdown of what all this is, than her work, coupled with the insight of the scientist Clifford Carnicom. This is the cutting edge, and many more people need to be up to speed on this level of understanding. So if you want to learn about what's really going on with chemtrails and on the electromagnetic grid, I say go no further than Elana's books. She now has another one out called The Geoengineered Transhuman, the hidden technologies of HARP chemtrails, 5G, 6G nanotechnology, synthetic biology, and the scientific effort to transform humanity. Well, anyway, third time on the show. Welcome back, Elana. Welcome back to Chant It Down.
Yeah, it's great to be back, Loomis. Thanks for having me again.
Hey, thanks for coming. Appreciate your work. And I thought maybe we can start by talking about what is in your new book and where. Well, I had you on 2023. So where are we now? What's the progression of all this? And
well, okay, so let's just get that straightened out. 2014 was my first book, and that was when I was had just begun working for a few years off and on with the scientist Clifford Carnicom, and he was the only scientist pursuing and actually collecting detritus falling from the wake of jets in the northern New Mexico sky. That sky used to be azure blue, and now it's, as I see that picture behind you, it's sort of baby blue like the rest of, in some places where I live in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. It's the sky is basically, light gray most of the time. So Clifford, I met him at a breakfast. It was one of those serendipitous life events where you were just going to meet a very intelligent person and hear their story, because I've always been I'm a writer. And it turned out that I got very involved in it because I began to, I had a biology major. I had a double major in college, undergrad. And so I love biology. And Clifford was, at that point, collecting saliva from people to see what was in their saliva, because what he was finding out in his petri dishes and things that he was collecting, the detritus coming down from the sky, he was finding fibers, filaments. And when he finally figured out how to break into these filaments, they were not natural. They were definitely synthetic. He found organisms in there, and he realized that it's what we call now synthetic biology. I don't think we had the term back then, but it was, maybe people have heard the word Morgellons, the terrible thing that by the time you see it, It's outside the body on the skin, coming out of sores, very sores that kind of look like Lyme disease, which was developed, we now know, by the American military back on Plum Island in, I think it's Pennsylvania or New York. And so he was exploring this, and I went over to his and his wife's camper trailer to see under his microscope. And that's when I saw that whatever this was, it was a creature that was actually sucking all the iron out of my red blood cells on the slide. And that definitely got my attention, because if it was happening with me, it was happening with a lot of people. And I already knew from what Clifford had said that what was happening is this dump was happening through the jets, and it was chemical in nature. Then we began to learn it had nanotechnology in it, which was relatively new. It came out sort of in the 70s with Eric Drexler, a student in grad school back east, who was finding these nanoparticles that are natural. A lot of them are natural, but he was also discovering unnatural man-made ones. So slowly, as Clifford's collecting all this data, and I'm getting more and more interested in it in order to write something, we began to realize that this was not just an atmospheric assault, which he already knew, because he had a Van de Graaff machine. He was able to test a lot of things having to do with the atmosphere, and it began to look like it was also an assault on the human being, in particular the blood, because people's blood did not look good, even back that far. We're talking back in 2005.
Right. That's when he came out with his documentary, right? Around there.
Yeah.
That's when I got in touch with his work. Mm-hmm.
Cloud Cover. Yeah, it has a couple of names, but it's still good. And you can find it free on the internet, by the way. Yeah. So it was in that film that he names 7 operations. And that's what people need to know, is that there are 7 operations that geoengineering is doing. They give you the idea that it's just cloud seeding, it's just weather modification. No, that's the first operation of 7 operations. That's the weather engineering. And is all the weather engineered? To my knowledge, it is. And that includes other countries. I'm not talking about nations now. I do know, and I have documentation, that in order to join NATO, and that's why in my books, I've particularly followed NATO nations, because I have the documentation for the fact that you can't join NATO unless you sign that you will donate 15% of your national income to keeping chemtrails in the sky.
Oh, wow.
So when I found that out, that it was actually part of the club membership in NATO, I began to wonder, wow, what are they doing that requires this? And then that's when I began looking at Clifford's work. I also was looking at the work of, I remember there was a book by a journalist named Will Thomas back then. Yeah. Will Thomas had a lot of hearsay in his book of people saying, yeah, and then I saw this, and then I saw that, and then I got sick, and I this and that. And he told many stories. And so that, and then there was what was his name? Smith. There was the HARP book and weather warfare book. His last name was Smith. I'm blocking his first name right now.
You're not
Sorry.
talking about the Angels Don't Play This Harp guy.
No, that's the book that really got my attention. That is by Nick Begich and Gene Manning.
Okay.
And so there were a few books. What I'm saying is there were a few books, but emphasis on few, very few.
Yeah.
There was nothing from the university level. That I didn't even see the word geoengineering at that point. I didn't see the word chemtrail. I saw the word contrail all the time. But these are not contrails, as Clifford, who has studied and been a chemist, it's because the chemical signature coming out the backs of these jets and out tubes on the wings indicates chemicals. It's chemistry that's coming out. So what is that? Is that from the fuel? Well, there are some who say that it's entirely from the fuel, but that's been disproven a long time ago, that it actually is coming out the wings just as much, if not more, than out of the combustion apartment of the jet. So, there were enough anomalies and enough non sequiturs to the story that I'm known for being an excellent researcher, and I go the last mile, that's for sure. And so I began putting together the story, and Clifford was there as someone who could correct me when I was wrong and give me leads, and he was invaluable to me for that first book. And the first book was Chemtrails, HAARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth in 2014. It's in that book that I go into the patents, very deeply into the patents for HAARP by Bernard Eastland. And Eastland was a extraordinarily bright scientist, and he figured out how to do this weapon system that you could sell as simply weather modification machinery. So that's a whole other story, and that I go into that story in the first book. The first book gave birth to the second book because at the end of when that book came out, I was called by a guy named Billy Hayes. Billy worked for the military. He was what's called an erector. We got a lot of laughs out of that. And he would put the towers up and the machinery, such as HAARP, if the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project. He worked on that project. And you put up all these antennae, and you can make them, and particularly phased array antennas, you can make them all produce beams, very powerful beams. And that's, of course, what HAARP did. There were other ionospheric heaters than HAARP, but nothing as powerful as HAARP. And that's what Nick Begich and Gene Manning wrote about. It came out in 94, I believe. Angels Don't Play This HAARP. Still good, still excellent footnotes. Nick has gone on to finish a PhD, and he's now spending most of his time, I hear, I've never been really in personal touch with him. He's up in Alaska. But he's spending most of his time on the mind control aspect of the HAARP system. And it is a system. While that one ionospheric heater is extraordinarily powerful up in Gakona, Alaska, it has to work in order for this technology to work. It's called interferometry is the scientific term for the type of technology. You need about two to three ionospheric heaters, all sending a beam from the phased array antennas into one target area. And then you can create holographs, you can create floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, storms, you name it. Drought, yes.
Yep.
So all of the weather warfare that some are talking about consistently is definitely true, and it is created by this technology. But there's a lot more to the technology. So we've named two. We've named weather engineering, and these 7 operations that Clifford came up with in that 2005 cloud cover film. Weather engineering is first, because you can make a lot of energy out of weather, as you know, from storms. And then the second operation is chemical electromagnetic, and that is ongoing. There are all sorts of experiments going on in the troposphere. That's what we breathe from, and in the stratosphere, which is one layer above. And then the planetary geophysical, that's what Hawaii went through with the geoengineered fire on Maui. That was definitely what I would categorize as a planetary geophysical event, similar to the fires in California, where after those were done and Paradise, California was completely destroyed, then they could go in and buy that land up for a song. California is still a high target area. Why? Because it seems to me, just from common sense and research, that California on the West Coast and New York on the East Coast, and now we have to move that to North Carolina as well, that they have this system whereby they're experimenting and changing frequencies, changing target areas, changing how they're doing it with the microwaves. They don't need the high-powered microwaves. They can use extra low frequency for that. They are able to, they see how it works in those areas. Then the fourth operation is directed energy weapons. And while we have been taught to think of ionospheric heaters, lasers and masers, particle beams, high-powered microwaves, yes, all those, the big guns, and the missiles, and the this and the that, but mostly the 4 high-powered microwave type of weapons. There's another way of looking at the weapons, because now, as targeted individuals experience constantly, and when we're talking about targeted individuals, we're talking about, I don't know, can I say millions of people? I will say at the very least, the high hundreds of thousands of people being used as guinea pigs for training agents, for new weapons that come out. They'll be hitting their homes. It's like recently we had the Havana syndrome. The Havana syndrome was a replay. Most people had never heard of it because it was named Havana, of course, coming out of Cuba, coming out of the American embassy there. But the people had been complaining of these things for at least 2 decades of my research. So this was not new, but it was, it did have to do with keeping the sky ionized. And that's the big deal about these ionospheric heaters, by the way. There is a video online. You can still get it. I show it during my PowerPoint presentations at conferences, wherein a Senate hearing is held up in Fairbanks, Alaska, for the and the University of Alaska Fairbanks is there. They're talking about, oh, we're going to shut HAARP down. We've already used it. We had great success, but we don't need it anymore. Well, that was a lie, because HAARP is the most powerful part of the HAARP system as far as weapon capability. So it's by keeping the atmosphere ionized. So what that required was to use HAARP primarily at the beginning as a means to control the ionosphere. And that was obtained, that control of the entire ionosphere. And the ionosphere starts about, I want to say, 16, 18 miles above us. It's
is it in the troposphere, or is it in the stratosphere, or I forget?
It goes above the troposphere.
Okay.
And it surrounds the planet and is, as it says, ionosphere. It's a bunch of ions, electrons and ions.
Mm-hmm.
And that protects us from the solar activities that are too much for the planet to take, too much for the creatures here to take. But what happened is, thanks to DARPA, which is the research organ of the American military, DARPA got up there with HARP's phased array antenna rays, beams, and poked a hole in the ionosphere, and eventually took control over the ionosphere. So that what that means is, anytime they need ions, and those are, you know, very active, and if we're going to have billions and billions of transmissions, which we have now because everything's wireless, right? Everybody thinks, oh, this is so great. We have wireless. We don't have to deal with wires and things. No, it's not great, because all the air that we're breathing from now is completely impregnated by many chemicals from Big Pharma. Big Pharma, remember them? They brought you 5 years of jabs.
Yeah.
They have been doing the geoengineering from day one, and with their chemicals, and who makes the decisions about what chemicals they want. Oh yeah, for the fuel, for ionization, but mainly to impact the creatures here and life here on the planet. And this is the main terrible thing that I've been pursuing now for about 20 years, is that this these maniacs that call themselves scientists, these psychopaths, are attempting to change, or better yet, eliminate Homo sapiens, but change Homo sapiens into a hybrid, a transhuman hybrid. So that's why you'll always see the word transhuman in any of my books after the first two. The second book, by the way, I'm going to kind of go back there and pick that little thread up. I attracted the attention of Billy Hayes, as I was telling you. Billy's dead now, but man, he helped me so much, because he had been raised under MK Ultra. He was completely mind controlled. He was programmed to be the encyclopedia of electromagnetics for his work on these teams going all over the world, 270 or so sites, and to set up these beam forming ionospheric heaters, so that they could, well, gee whiz, take over the globe. Of course, we don't believe that now that we're completely under massive control over the entire Earth. And it isn't just WHO and the globalists. It's like Billy was the one who set me straight about how they use for the weapons, and I'm on the fourth directed energy weapon system still, how they put up all these towers. We have all these towers around. You can't even decide that the tower can't go there. They'll put it wherever they want it, and they've got laws that will protect them. And then you have to live with it, and you will now be developing these disease states, these symptoms, by which your immune system is not able to protect you, because the electromagnetics are so strong in neighborhoods and everywhere you can think of. As we love fast movie downloads, and we've got our eyes on exactly the wrong stuff, folks.
Yeah.
We are not really paying attention to the assault going on in the name of convenience and comfort. And boy, have they done a number on us. It's all part of what Billy Hayes used to say to me. You've got to watch your back, because the last thing they want people to know is that their precious electromagnetics are going to be the death of them. And that's where we are now. That book was called the Under an Ionized Sky, from chemtrails to space fence lockdown. The space
Yeah.
fence lockdown is important to mention here, Loomis, because that was my
Yeah.
term. Well, actually, it belonged to, let's see, Lockheed Martin first.
Yeah. Can you explain the space fence a little bit? Just because I've lamely explained it on my show, but I know you can do a way better job.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's graduated. That's the one reason I want to talk about it is, okay, so Billy explained to me, you know how we have all these all this green tech. He said it's not really green. He said the radar installations, the windmills, the wind
Yeah.
farms, the fracking going on for underground getting oil and gas up. All of these things are now utilized to provide energy for control over the planet. And the control is coming because of what they're dumping with the geoengineering system. They're dumping all these chemicals and nanotech that, yes, it's dangerous for us because we have to breathe it. We have to breathe this atmosphere. We don't get to go and choose another atmosphere. This is our atmosphere. So we have been under assault at the same time the planet has been under assault. Now, Clifford Carnicom with the Van de Graaff generator has indicated that we are being hit with a 4 hertz frequency from the HARP system. And that, it may sound like nothing. 4 hertz, and that's no big deal when we have to deal with gigahertz. No, but this pulsing that is pulsing into our atmosphere constantly, 24/7, now for 20 years, 25 years, maybe. Look up 4 hertz and see where it is on the spectrum. Now we know 11.6 or 11.8 is the Schumann resonance, and it's also the what our brain operates at, 11.8. But this is 4 hertz. So what's that do? Well, that's the state for us between dreaming and sleeping. Have you been wondering why people aren't very smart anymore? Have you been wondering why the brain is sort of like suppressed, and why people, like a lot of kids, are taking drugs and stuff, and in order to have some sort of inner experience? They call it an inner experience. It all fits together. It all fits together, but you have to study each one of these things in order to see how it's playing into it. And Billy was the one, because he had been witnessing it all his life. He was in his early 70s when I knew him, before he died, and he was showing me how they can derive energy from all of these energetic technologies that we've got everywhere for comfort and convenience, of course. And so, we were able to, I was so appreciative to him that he guided me toward that so that I never forgot it. So that when we hit this medical thing of 5 years ago, right in 2020, Billy was not long here when he again and again said to me, pay attention to the medical. This is it. This is it. And he was right. This is it. And now I'm writing about that. But the third book, let me just mention the books. The third book was Geoengineered Transhumanism. That's the first book where I go pretty deeply into the question of synthetic biology and what synthetic biology is being used for. It's being used for weaponry. It is a bioweapon, and it is highly developed now, and is certainly in the chemtrails that are delivering them to us, along with the rest of Big Pharma's apothecary. And then in 2020, we hit a juncture where everybody's lining up like lemmings. Can you say the words mind control?
Of course.
They're lining up to get their shots because they're so scared that they're going to have CV-19, COVID, whatever you want to call it. It was all staged. It was all staged in order to get, as Catherine Austin Fitts has said again and again recently, in order to get an operating system into your physical body. The operating system means they're setting up by means of the grid that you mentioned, the geomagnetic grid under our feet, the grid above us, which is now everywhere in this wireless atmosphere that we have to breathe from.
Yeah.
They want to be able to direct your body as if you're a robot. And so by putting the operating system in people through the jab, and then dropping the operating system as well in a sort of more random way from the chemical trails, they now are reaching the pinnacle of what is at least 150 years old, a brotherhood, secret society, desire to control humanity and lessen humanity if they need to. They say there's 8 billion people. I'm not sure. That's probably a lie. It's probably not that many. And then to direct us, direct our behavior, direct our thoughts, direct our feelings, decrease the ability to have children. All of it is staged and manufactured by the people that I'm writing about, particularly in the what I call the big fat book. It's 650 pages and has beautiful color photos, by the way, lots and lots of them.
This is the new book. The new book, right?
That's the third book. That's the
okay.
Third
I have
book.
that one. Yeah, I have the third book.
And
I like
that
it.
one I own the copyright of. It's the only copyright I own, I'm sad to say. All right,
no.
Then I was asked by Inner Traditions, Barron Company, there are two that have come together. I remember when they published back in the 70s, and I was living on the West Coast near Berkeley, they published The Tao of Physics, and which is a science and spirituality kind of book. And they published The Dancing Wooly Masters. Same thing, science and spirit, science and spirit. So I was approached by this publishing company. It's the first time I've ever been approached by a publisher. Usually you have to go begging at their door for them to even pay attention to you. But no, this wonderful publisher, Ehud Sperling is his name. He came and asked, do you think you could take that big fat book you wrote and maybe divide it into 2 books? And I said, yeah, but I'll have new material in each one of those books, so it's not exactly divided into. But that's what I did. The one you mentioned, the Geoengineered Transhuman, that came out last February 2025. And now I just finished, just literally a month or 2 ago, I just finished writing the second book, which is the companion to that book, which is primarily about synthetic biology and surviving it. And that is called Remaining Human, Standing Up to the Transhuman Nanomachine Takeover of Homo Sapiens. And in this one, I take a really close look, a scathing look at the military biomedical security complex, at the synthetic biology hive mind that they have plugged us into, the geomagnetic grid under our feet, Stargate AI, and this is why I was mentioning, I haven't forgotten the space fence lockdown. Stargate AI is the apotheosis of the lockdown. Absolutely. That's what it is. And now they're building all these so-called data centers. That's not what I think they're for. And though there will be a great deal of data, as we now see that most people who were jabbed, I was not jabbed, I
Me
avoided
neither.
it. Most people who were jabbed have been set up to feed all that data of this experimentation that's going on in the name of disease into the the people who have been jabbed are collecting the data. They have nanosensors in them that and they are doing the nanotech is following everything about anything to do with this experiment, and they are connected to the Bluetooth, and the Bluetooth is connected to Elon Musk's CubeSats, 60,000 of them in the air. And now they're going to add all these data centers in order to run all the lives on Earth. And so, yes, this has to do with the money system. Yes, it has to do with everything that has to do with control of Homo sapiens, because what they want is, for a while, they'll accept a human hybrid that is primarily, yes, a transhuman, has been changed by self-assembling uh, uh, nanotechnology, by synthetic biology. It's all happening in us. They don't want these old blood vessels here anymore with real blood in them. They want synthetic blood running through redone blood vessels. They want a different nervous system. They do not want the God-given Homo sapiens anymore. So that's what really struck me. I don't know, a year ago. I can't remember, but when I had started compiling the research for the book I just finished, I was looking very closely at Stargate AI, and I noticed, and you'll definitely appreciate this, Loomis, as you're watching President Trump, second term and second election, and he's second day in office.
Yeah.
He's standing there with, now help me with the name, Sam Altman.
Sam Altman and Larry Ellison.
Larry Ellison, and then the Chinese guy I did not recognize, so I tend to forget his name, but he's another billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Another three Silicon Valley billionaires. So they're standing on one side. I'm looking at it on my computer screen, and there's Trump standing behind the podium, and he's announcing this fantastic, 500 billion, I think it was. I mean, these big numbers are $500 billion the Stargate AI, and how wonderful it's going to be, and blah, blah, blah. But all I have my eyes on is, oh my gosh, this is entirely set up as a Freemason initiation rite, because Trump was playing Hiram Abyss. And if you haven't studied, folks, if you have not studied Freemasonry in order to understand how it is a powerful secret society, so powerful that it just takes your breath away for centuries. We're talking centuries here, not just a few years.
Oh yeah.
There's Trump. He's playing Hiram Abiff, who's the head poobah of Freemasonry, considered to be. And then over here you have the three apprentices. That's their name. They're the three apprentices. And now the great announcement of this Stargate AI, it to me absolutely represented the announcement that all the stuff I've written about all these years and all the research they did in our skies and by poisoning populations and doing poisoning children as soon as they get to the planet with these so-called vaccinations. As soon as I saw this, I realized they've arrived. They've done it.
Yeah.
And now it's just a matter of playing it out. And that's what is going on now. Even this Iran war is completely about this. It's it's the sign of a new era that is beginning, and the new era is not the kind that we would have been looking toward as
No.
something wonderful.
Let me just add in that they kept saying in that conference that the golden age of America, and that is something that is talked about by Theosophy, talked about by the Luciferian, not the, what do you call
Lucis
it?
Trust. The
Lucis Trust. Thank you. Yes. They've talked about the golden age, and it goes back to some of the writings, and basically they took the script right out of some of the writings, not Madame Blavatsky, but somebody else who took on. But anyway, I just want to throw that in. I did a show about
no, it's good.
Yeah.
And I need to admit here that and you probably know this about me. I'm a student of Rudolf Steiner.
Right.
45 years. I've been studying his ideas that I then use to throw some light on the power of these secret societies. These secret societies have great deal of power.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just Epstein Island. It's beyond belief of how much power they have and how many killings they've been responsible for, and how the way decisions are made on a national scale, or even an individual scale for various important individuals like Elon Musk. He obviously is completely controlled by secret societies. And so, once you realize how this world really works, then everything begins to make sense, and it doesn't look crazy anymore. It doesn't look mad.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that the CIA, MK Ultra, all the programs that the CIA has done, all the psyops it has run to frighten people, to kill certain people, all that. It's all of one. It's all of one. And it doesn't matter if it's a Republican in office or a Democrat in office. It really doesn't matter, because whoever it is, they will have a control mechanism over them that if they don't obey, they're going to pay big time. So, it's blackmail through pedophilia. And if a man is not a leader, is not a pedophile by nature, well, then the CIA will give him a little bit of their drug arsenal, and he will do what he's told to any child or anyone. So, these are incredibly dangerous people, incredibly. And here we are, dopey, the masses. We're just trying to be good citizens and trying to do the right thing and raise our children and pay our mortgage and pay the IRS. So, this idea that we have of our nation is just too narrow. We've got to really take a look at it. And that's why, I'm a super researcher. I've been doing this my whole life, since the 60s. I'm a 60s person. We knew that Kennedy and King and Kennedy were killed, and that the CIA had set it all up. We didn't know everybody's name of who was involved in it, but we knew the CIA was in charge. And now look at the CIA. It pretty much runs this country. It has In-Q-Tel. It has it owns shares, majority shares in probably thousands of corporations. I mean, the power is so devastating, and no wonder some people just want to hide and take drugs or drink a lot of beer, or I understand you don't want to deal with it, but I'm telling you something I know about you. I don't care who you are. You chose to be here right now. You chose it before you ever arrived. So get busy. We're about to lose not just the nation, we're about to lose the human race. Do you understand what that means? Well, then there's no reincarnation anymore. You're not going to be able to reincarnate into a synthetic biology creature. No way.
No.
It'll be over. So that's what got me so busy, and and obsessive, and like, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night during the writing of The Remaining Human, and it would be like I would just suddenly understand like a whole swath of things I had been studying and I didn't understand. And I had it. I understood it. So I just get up and go turn my computer on and get busy, because then, then I'd catch up sleep later. So I've taken it very seriously, even though no authority figure told me, other than Billy Hayes, of course, who was not really an authority figure, but for electromagnetics, the guy knew everything. Bless his heart. Bless Billy. And he was MK Ultra that whole time. I mean, they gave him grand mal seizures during our interviews on radio shows.
Oh, wow.
Grand mal seizures. And finally I said, Billy, that's it. We can't do this anymore. It's these hosts are getting freaked out and they don't want this to happen on their show or whatever. It's but boy, I love that guy. And he helped me so much. Like we were talking about Michael Murphy and his films. What in the world are they spraying, and why in the world are they spraying? Right? Was that the name of the two books?
Yeah. We both knew Michael. Yeah.
We both knew Michael.
Yeah.
And that was a done deal. That was not just a natural death by any means, nor was it a natural drug addiction. It was not. It was staged the whole way. And staged doesn't mean, oh, it's not serious, it's not real, so you don't have to take it seriously. No, it means that it was created to kill. And that's the God's truth. So for me, this is all about I must make the attempt, and I must prepare myself for my next life. I mean, I was 8 years old when I first realized that I had actually known the man who wrote Plato's cave story. And yes, I felt that I had known him. And that's amazing for an 8-year-old. And then only later did I realize what I had meant by that, because I guess I thought everybody would know who they had been before. I don't know. But it has been a great help to me to understand that we are not just slabs of meat here. We have spiritual purpose.
Yeah.
And that I came with a very real purpose into a very difficult family situation that I first had to solve before I could continue doing why I really came. You may be the same one out there in listener land. I support you. I support you to do the greatest thing you can do. It could be taking care of your mother in her last moments. It could be raising your kids. It could be, being a really good engineer. I don't care what it is, but do something excellent for humanity, because we are an amazing species. We are no slab of meat, or as what's his name, that spokesperson for WEF said.
The Yuval Harari.
Yeah,
Harari. We can just hack the human being.
We don't need that soul. We don't have soul. No, we're just slabs of meat. To be used and abused by our masters. No, we are extraordinary beings, and we can become even more extraordinary if we put real effort into it.
Oh, yeah. Humans are amazing. And I think that when we know our purposes and we align with that, it's a really powerful thing. And I think I've been doing this. I've been covering a lot. I don't want to go off subject too much here, but I've been covering a lot on this show, Human Origins, recently, and how they want us just to believe we came from apes and we're just this, we're just this mechanical, like, matter that just somehow came into existence. It's just so far from the truth. I believe our bodies have been manipulated in the past, but I think our souls came from something really, amazing. It's no doubt in my mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Rudolf Steiner actually says that the human being is the religion of the gods.
Mm.
What does he mean by that? Because we are spiritual beings living in physical bodies for a time. We have to go through birth, which is not easy, and we have to go through death, which is not easy.
No.
So we have this situation in which we come all the way from the spiritual world here to this planet, this school, so we can evolve further, evolve deeper into our humanity, the religion of the gods who admired us, who admire us. And so as a result, the evil ones here, the ones who lust after power, and are willing to do anything to get that power. Well, why would I admire them? Why would I want to be one of them? It's, everything that we do here, we will confront when we leave. I don't know how many of you think that it doesn't matter what you do here, but you're dead wrong. It matters a great deal, and for humanity as well. I mean, these are our people, these are our people, and I don't care, if it's a very educated person or a wealthy person or a poor person or a person with no limbs. We are together in this, and I want to save at least a remnant of humanity from these psychopaths that are, for all I know, are in. I'm sure they're all in secret societies, and I'm sure that the secret societies they're in have lost their way big time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
are doing horrible things to children and babies. So let's get busy on this, and there are things you can do by just increasing the quality of the of what you do and what you study. And I now know a lot. I know a lot about a lot of things, and that is not for my career. It's not for money. It's not at all about any of that. It's about really paying attention to what's going on here. I mean, I came here for what, 80 some measly years. And that's not a long time. That's
No.
okay. But the quality by which I grapple with the realities that I'm finding here, that's so, so important. And Rudolf Steiner said again and again in his lectures, he said that the 21st century would be an encounter with evil that would be unmatched in the history of humanity. Here we are.
Yeah,
Here we are.
we are. And this assault we're getting from the spraying and all this stuff is like, I don't know. Like I said in the intro, I've always found it as like one of the very most important things that we should be thinking about, because it never stops and it is an ongoing thing without our consent. Because you mentioned, you mentioned how like they have to keep us in an ionized environment. They never stops. Like they constantly spray. We get hammered hard by this stuff, and
Yes, you
I'm
do.
amazing we're all standing still sometimes. After a day of just total whiteout or whatever they're doing. We are just really lucky to be as healthy as we are. I think the human body shows the resiliency of the human body, but at the same time, wow,
Yes.
it is so important. And I don't know what, like I've done so many shows on this subject, but it doesn't get old because it's happening constantly, and it's unrelenting. Yeah.
Yes. And we wanted to talk about, and just to mention that right now, at least 35 states are attempting to get redress from their legislatures regarding the what they think is the chemtrails producing weather modification, and that has to do with the solar radiation management, which is the real name of it. It's been changed to solar radiation modification because that's a nicer term and it makes us feel less managed. So we need to pay attention to these efforts by people in states. I really feel for them, but they don't know the whole story. This just started with what happened in North Carolina is really when it happened, when it started. And that's just, a couple of years ago. I've been, stationed in this mess for 20 years, Clifford Carnicum, 25 years. So, or actually, I realize now it's more than 25. By the way, he and I are now writing a book about his situation the last 25 years and how he's been targeted and had heart attacks and has been kept from the public and made fun of and judged and I mean, you name it. So he's the one scientist who did the most. He has 450 papers written on this topic, going all the way into the present, where the deliveries are still coming that are corollaries to what's in the jab. Okay, same stuff. They work together. We're in a pincher move. They're pressing us from the sky that we're breathing into our lungs, and therefore it's going into the blood that way. And then from the jabs that are what did they say? 5.5 billion people on the earth have had. So let's wake up and smell the coffee. We're in a war with some very nasty. I don't know what they are. I'm not sure they're human anymore. I think you can lose your humanity if you don't obey certain parts of what it takes to be a true human being. I think you can lose your humanity. And then you create the vacuum that we've all heard about. Nature abhors a vacuum. And what that means is that something will move in there and take over the body and the mind of that particular. And I think of that when I listen to some of the people who hate humanity, hate Homo sapiens so much, as I think, wow, I wonder what's living inside them now. It certainly is not their humanity.
No, it's not humane. They're not people. They're not thinking like humans. I mean, I'm not the one to go as far away as saying we're all being ruled by reptilians. I don't know. I have no proof. I can't say yes or no, but there is something to that as far as the actions that they make. It's like they're not human. It's like they're completely of another species that hates humans.
Well, there are entities here. This planet is completely overrun by many entities from other dimensions. I think the last number that the military had for the number of dimensions they have discovered, I want to say 32 or something like that. 32 dimensions. You and I pretty much only know 4 dimensions, right? Time is the 4th. And then we have space, which is 3 dimensions. And then we hear about a 5th dimension. We hear about a 6th, a 7th, and 8th. We hear about these dimensions, but you need particular instruments in order to be able to assess those dimensions and assess those dimensions' relationship with the dimensions we have here. So it's complex, but suffice it to say that you are not being told the whole truth about certainly the 32 or whatever it is, the dimensions that the military now has determined actually exist. And I think of that in the book Under an Ionized Sky, the second book I wrote. there's a chapter on CERN called The Temple of CERN. Very important chapter for you to see that CERN is not just about science. It's also about secret societies, and that there are certain things that happen in that uh, what is it called? I'm sorry, blocking the name, but
Hadron Collider.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the Hadron Collider. So there are certain portals being opened, you might say, from the magnetosphere, because CERN has definitely to do with the magnetosphere, which surrounds the ionosphere that is controlled by the military now. So, these are things you can learn in my books to provide you with a more thorough, complete picture of how all of this is set up for what's called precision. It's precision control. Full spectrum dominance is a military doctrine, and the spectrum they're talking about is definitely the electromagnetic spectrum. So the fact that it's all controlled by these different parts, such as CERN, and then the HARP situation, these are all working together, and the people who run them work together and are members of various secret societies. It's hard to believe, given that you've been sitting on the couch watching TV news, which is pretty much all lies. Pretty much, we've seen those funny little clips where you see that they're all saying the same thing at the same time on different channels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting at. I wanted to go back and talk a little bit about, you mentioned sort of in the beginning about the spraying and fuel. I never really bought that one too much, but our commercial flights actually spraying, because when I witnessed these operations on continents, mainly because out here it's a little bit different, it's like a whole work crew comes over. One day there's no flights, and then suddenly there's a bunch, and then you see these pre-sprayed gas planes where they like let off a little contrail, and then come in the big guns and they let off the big chemtrails. And I've flown a lot in my life, and airports are constantly going, so there's no like busier days necessarily where there's more planes in the sky like you see with these operations. So I've always seen it as kind of a big crew up there, and they're not commercial planes. They seem to be all white, usually unmarked. Is that correct, or are commercial flights spraying?
In the beginning, I can say that commercial flights were definitely involved with military flights. The military flights go a little higher. They fly a little higher, like 42,000 feet. And the commercial tend to be around 35 to 30,000 feet. And they all had to sign NDEs, or is that what it's called? NDAs?
NDA, yeah.
Yeah, and saying that they wouldn't talk about what they were doing. Then the rumor was, and I don't know that it's true for all airlines, it was still using commercial. Then we saw proof of old commercial airlines being redone. We would hear about this airport and that, like out here in the south, in the Northwest, we heard about Evergreen Airlines, which was a CIA. Yeah. So to me, they are now, it seems that, see, they can't do without the chaff. They can't do without it. They've got to have that chaff up there, and the chaff is primarily aluminum oxide, maybe some lithium oxide in certain areas, because the lithium changes our consciousness. So they use that sporadically over certain areas of the country where they want people to be more more cool, right? More calm, more whatever you want to call it, mind controlled. But they have a patent now for a sound system that once that's turned on, then the chemicals that are going out of the jet from the wings generally, that's where you see the most chemicals coming out, is in the wings. They tell you there's fuel in the wings. There is no fuel in the wings because they're using turbo engines. They're using air to move those flights forward.
High bypass fans, right?
That's right. High bypass. And but what is in the wings that's coming out those little ducts? Well, it's the chemicals. And do they still need, your question is, do they still need the commercial flights? I highly doubt that they are doing it. Certainly pilots are not involved in it anymore. They don't make any decisions about that. That's all done from down below, what they're distributing. And certainly a lot of miscarriages happen among stewardesses. There's a great deal of chemical something going on in the cabin area and up where the pilots are. And I assume it has to do with the fact that these they're still flying with some chemicals and distributing, but not all of them. It's generally speaking, when the first big base that they used was Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, and now they have many bases, and they tend to be military, so that they don't have to deal with watching people trying to figure out what's really going on. So I always assume that it's primarily going on at military bases in the U.S. As far as other nations, I don't know how they're, other NATO nations that are distributing. I don't know what their systems are as well as I know America's.
Yeah. I went to a wedding years ago. This is almost 10 years ago in the Cook Islands, which are small, and even out there in the middle of nowhere, way down in the South Pacific, they're still spraying. I didn't see the planes, but I saw the cotton candy shredded looking clouds moving in. I'm like, oh, they're doing it out there too. So they don't leave really anywhere without all this. I mean, I don't even know. I even saw some people vacationing on a travel vlog. They were on I guess a boat. They went to Antarctica, and I even saw some of that stuff in the sky in Antarctica. So I don't know if there is a place on Earth that it's not happening.
I've heard rumors, and that's all. And I think what I'm concentrating on is, first of all, this is a really big weapon system. It has the capability to, destroy all life on Earth. And I don't mean by a big bomb. I mean this way, this chemical nano way, where it's quiet and we're all breathing it. People aren't dropping dead right away. They're living longer, we all have these autoimmune conditions now, and some people have it worse than others. So I think that's what I want to concentrate on is do not get a jab for anything. I just read an article the other day that, okay, you step on a rusty nail. Don't get a tetanus shot. You don't need a tetanus shot. Soaking your foot in baking soda probably do just fine. So we need to re-examine everything we've accepted as the truth. And as far as the nanotech, we definitely want the nanotech out of us. And I know a lot of people experimenting with all sorts of things for the nanotech. You stay in this business long enough, and like I'm still catching up with 2,000 emails that I left because I was busy writing. Uh, people know things, and they want to tell people who know things, and I'm all ears, and I want to be able to respond to these people because they're sort of. I mean, we now know that experts, medical and technical, they lie. They lie to us. They don't tell us the truth. So I'd rather do hearsay and listen to people who are having real experiences with things and some of their educated guesses. Why not? Let's listen to each other. We will find things out, and then we can try it. And what you said is so true. The human body is extraordinary. What's not good, and I completely prove it in three of these books. They have tried to destroy our immune system now for ever since we had the word pollution on our minds back in the 30s and 40s. So yeah, they have been trying to destroy our immune system, and they have succeeded with some people. But if you start eating healthy food and don't eat any industrialized food, I don't care how hungry you are, you don't stop for a big Whopper or whatever those things are called. I mean, I certainly have never eaten those. I was a 60s person. We ate naturally. We had gardens. We knew that the institutionalization of America was death. And so you want to eat good food, organic food. You're going to have to not believe people. Oh, yeah, it's organic. Yeah. Well, I don't know that that's true, right? I think it's that moral element that we've lost. And then our perception, because of all the media takeover. We don't depend on our own perceptions anymore, our own experience anymore. We listen to the great white doctor. We watch on TV what whoever says whatever. That stuff. I've never owned a television. I've never owned a cell phone. Boom. These are the two biggest mind control technologies there are. And I have very vehemently denied them because I recognize what's attempting to be done, and I saw it in the 60s.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that's our hope, is that we will rise up to the occasion. Humans are good on that. When things get really, really bad, there are some people who are just fantastic. So we're there. So let's get going.
Yeah, I guess my always frustration with humanity is they wait almost till it's too late.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
It's been bad. Like, it's been bad for a long time. Let's get up. Let's wake up. And people are still under so much mind control, and a lot of what's happened in the last maybe 10 years or less is the whole Trump phenomenon that came through and sort of took some of the ideas from this alternative media, or whatever you want to call it, and piggybacked on it and used some of that, not all of it. I mean, they're not talking about chemtrails, and they're sort of hijacking it to where people from the outside think that someone like you or I, who are talking about this kind of stuff, must be into Trump because we are we're into the alternative things, when it's been kidnapped. It's that this thing's been hijacked, and so a lot of people fell for that. And they've done a lot of psyops out there where people can't really find the truth anymore, and it's really a lot of muddy water out there. And I see it's hard to navigate through, but I think a lot of us that have been in this for a while, like yourself, and talking about this is the true core of of independent research and the fruition of people that come together that want to make a change. And this stuff with Trump, it's all fleeting. It's all going to go away, and then it's hijacked. Alternative media is what it is.
Well, I think that we're undergoing one of the changes we're undergoing that we have to undergo at some point in our evolution is this obsession with, heroes who save us.
Yeah, yeah.
And experts who tell us what to do.
Mm-hmm.
That all needs to go away, and we haven't done it on our own. So now we have a crisis. I mean, what do you expect? We're going to have crises forever until we take hold of things. And now it's a matter of really realizing that until we move, we won't be able to see very well of who's who and what's what, and we'll be hoodwinked. It's a Freemason word, very useful. To be hoodwinked, you're fooled. You've been fooled again because you haven't been doing your job as a human being. You haven't been alert. You haven't been really looking at things. You take your kid to the great white doctor and allow them to put jabbed needles into them. I mean, come on. I certainly didn't do that with my children. I didn't do that. I didn't go to the great white doctor. I didn't trust the great white doctor. And I had studied Chinese medicine, not enough to be a Chinese medical doctor, which at one time I thought I was going to be, but enough that I've been able to use it my whole life. And I have not been to a doctor or hospital or any of those creepy places in my entire life since I was 13 years old. I got the picture at 13 from a doctor who saw a chance to make a few $100 off of my stepmother and said I had appendicitis. Well, I didn't really have appendicitis. I just didn't want to go to school that day, so I faked a side, kind of thing. So to me, that you can go on and on and on about Trump, but he's nothing compared to our problems.
Oh,
He
of course.
is nothing.
No.
He is totally controlled too. All those guys that are with their faces up there, they're all controlled. Don't you get that? They're controlled. So don't look for anything there except keep track of what they're doing. You may need to know some of that, but otherwise, we got enough to deal with over here just in our own small lives.
Yeah, I can't believe people still fall for politics or even think that's something that's going to change anything. Yeah, it's really
well, that's all we've had for so long. That's and the things that we really need to talk about, such as pedophilia, we don't want to talk about because it's too hurtful and too scary. And you may have to, call. There may be a pedophile in your family, and you've been protecting them all these years because you don't want to deal with it. I mean, it's not easy being human and making all these calls on how things are. And that's what if I were to say to people, what is the most important thing you can do? Do not have any more vaccines and do not take any medications from big pharma and big medicine. Do not wean yourself from these terrible systems that are using people as guinea pigs. And I'm not saying, oh no, be a Christian Scientist or fast and you'll get better. No, I'm not diagnosing here. I'm saying abandon these systems that don't work for the people. Abandon them. Don't give them a buck, not even a buck. That to me is what I've concentrated on. I'm not always perfect, but I certainly have never done anything with the medical industry.
Yeah, that's a big one. There's a lot of things to just move out of your life: the medical system, the media, the bad foods, and I think it transforms the person once they remove all these tentacles of the system.
Very much so. And then you may have a chance at being a real human being. Am I saying that most people aren't real human beings? Yes, I am. I'm saying that. I meet them all the time. I'm a real human being, and you know how I know? As soon as I walk in a room, the little babies and the little kids all smile. They love to
Yeah,
see me. And
yeah.
I have this picture. A woman told me once that I have this big bunch of light coming out of my head. Well, I don't know about that, but I definitely want to be one of the human beings, and I have studied the ancient past in order to do that because they seem to have a handle on it. They didn't have the same stuff to go through that we have. Let's give
No.
ourselves some compassion. We have so much. Rudolf Steiner says that the rest of human evolution will have to deal with the machine, period. You cannot get around it. You're going to have to deal with it. So, okay, if we're going to have to deal with it, let's get our head screwed on straight, not allow fear
Yeah.
to distract us and throw us off, not take drugs because you want the real human experience, and all drugs, the ones made by big pharma, shoot, I think it's black magicians are making those drugs. They're certainly awful. And,
Oh, yes.
people don't have they don't have their own consciousness anymore. That can't be good.
No.
And then the ones that are from nature, like the mushroom and, those things, uh, I, I want just my own human consciousness. Thank you very much. Not the mushroom god and not the marijuana god and not because they all have spirits in them. They can't change your consciousness if they don't have spirits in them. Come on.
That's
It's
true.
not just materialism. It's not just materialism.
Yeah.
There are spirits in them, and I don't know. I want my own consciousness. So I gave up all that at 21, even though I was in the 60s generation, and a lot of my generation continued and had the CIA take over their bodies, basically, because the CIA were out there putting bad drugs in the street right and left. They
Yeah.
knew that they wanted to destroy my generation. So they did destroy a lot of it, but not all of it. Some of us are still going.
Yeah. Well, there's a few, but like a lot of that generation ended up buying right into all the media, all the lies. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
I, I can just look at my own family that a lot of them took the jab because they thought it was, and they were wondering why people like me are not taking the jab. It's like,
Well, now they know.
yeah, yeah.
If they want to know. If they want to know.
If they
They may
want to
not.
know, some
Yeah.
of them didn't survive, unfortunately.
And being a student of history, I have to say that, and I've studied a lot of history because I love studying, I love books, I love all that stuff.
Me too.
It's always a phalanx of forward-thinking people, smart people, uh, people with big questions who drag the rest of humanity behind them. Always.
Mm,
In every historical movement, everything.
right.
It's always the same. And I am one of those people. I am dragging humanity behind me because a lot of people simply do not have the skills and tools and preparation that people like me have. I don't mind that. I'm not resentful of that. That's how things work here. You can't
Mm,
have everybody awakening all at once. Like, lately people have been saying, oh, yeah, we're going to, what is it? Ascension. We're going to ascend. Well, that sounds a lot like, the born again Christians talking about the, whatever that is called, when we're all going to be translated into heaven. No, I am not a fan of that way of thinking, that magical thinking. I like magical thinking sometimes,
sure.
but not for things like that.
Yeah, because it just makes people lazy too. It makes people,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're looking for somebody else to do it for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Elana, I wanted to just have you finish up. You were reading some of the applications or the 7
Oh yeah, I
different.
didn't finish.
Yeah, you should. So
Let's finish the
we
other
should,
the
yeah.
other 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so after the directed energy weapons,
Mm-hmm.
the 5th one is surveillance and neural manipulation. Neural manipulation simply means mind control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge. And that's, I think the term remote neural monitoring is the name of the game, RNM. And it's done by satellite. They have extraordinary EEGs on some of these satellites that can reach right into your head, and you won't even feel it, and it will take the signature, your DNA signature, and what they call the evoked potential, the signature of your being. They'll take it right out of you. And then they can do stuff to you remotely, very remotely, like 200 miles above the planet. So that kind of surveillance, whenever they use the word surveillance, they're not just talking about watching you. They're talking about mind control. Okay, just remember that. That's a key word they use. Then the sixth operation of geoengineering is, and I've put three things together that belong together: digital biology, nanotechnology, and transhumanism. And these three things work together. Digital biology, what I mean by that is they are turning the molecular biology that we have had for, I don't know, millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years, I don't know, into digital biology. In other words, when they say they have not isolated the COVID-19 virus, they use that word, they are saying the truth. They have not isolated it because it doesn't really exist. It exists only digitally. It's only electronic. It's a frequency that they've used, gain of function. I hope everybody's familiar with that term. It's I explain it very well in this book that's coming out soon. That has been made into an implement of warfare, of biowarfare. Digital biology, that's what they want our bodies to be. Right now, I'm still molecular, right? But if they have their way with their self-assembling nanotechnology, then all my nerves, my blood vessels, my tissues will be synthetic and no longer organic as an organic species of this planet. So that's what digital biology means. It's a death sentence for the human being. Nanotechnology, we are becoming familiar with that. We've had it since the 70s. It's very dangerous. Eric Drexler, the founder of nanotechnology, supposedly, I don't know if he really did. It might be apocryphal. It might have been made up. He says that the worst thing about nanotechnology is it's a biophage, biophage, which means it eats life. Yum, 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 yum. And you have no more of it. So
and that's what you were talking about, sucking your iron, like the nano.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Like that. But imagine that on a planetary scale, because they have released this nanotechnology into the atmosphere big time, big time. Okay, and then the other term, transhumanism, I would think people would be used to it now, but it's a term that means you're no longer totally human. You're now moving out of your human, transhuman. You're transhuman, and that's that has to do with having all the replacements going on in your body of this nanotech that is self-assembling and self-replicating and self-healing. It can heal itself. It's impossible to kill. So when we're all talking about how can I get the nanotechnology out of my body, what we're looking at is we're looking at electromagnetic solutions, maybe zapping it in some way with the Rife machine or whatever. We're looking at it chemically. Can we chemically disintegrate it?
Yeah.
That's kind of the question, because we've been hit with this synthetic biology with no prep. Right. Of course, they wouldn't have want us to be prepared. No way. That's not good warfare.
Is
And
zapping? You mentioned zapping. I remember I had this contraption for. I still have it actually. It has you put it on your body. Puts a really little bit of tiny bit of electro frequency, like it zaps. It's called a zapper. Would
yeah,
that help? Yeah.
well, I don't know because each body is different, and
Yeah.
you're talking about using ELFs. It's a extra low frequency, and the question is, will that feed them? See,
Yeah.
that's
That's
what we
wonderful.
don't know. It's like there are lots of supplements now that you can take, but then you look at the what's in it, and it's nano this and nano that, and you go, wait a minute, it's supposed to help me get rid of nano, and yet I'm seeing that nano is being used in the supplement. So, that's where I'm stuck. I don't
Yeah.
take supplements. I only take two, well, three right now. I'm very minimalist. If someone really, really, really convinces me that something might help me as a whole system, I might be interested. But generally, my my medicine is food. What I eat and what I don't eat. What
Yeah.
you don't eat is also important. Like no sugar,
Yeah.
no sugar. uh, Meat from grocery stores. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. It has to be from a farmer. And I have to know the history, a bit of the history of that farmer. So, that kind of paranoia, you might call it, is well placed now. Very well placed,
Yeah.
because they're conning us into all sorts of things. A lot of the vegetables and fruits and meat now has CV-19 vaccine, so-called vaccine in it,
Oh, mRNA stuff, right?
and
Yeah.
mRNA.
Yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. So gee whiz, what do I eat? It's also a question of what don't I eat?
Yeah.
So, start thinking about it. You may just prefer to be a fatalist and go, "Oh, well, we're all going to die anyway." Well, I'm not of that school of thought myself. I'd rather be learning what's going on. Okay, the seventh operation. This one's the most fun, and I don't spend hardly any time on it, though I have studied it, and I have seen one of these. Cloaking and obscuration or detection of exotic propulsion craft. Yes, that's UFOs and UAPs. It might even be a drone. And plasma life forms. Now, the plasma life forms is really very interesting to me. And I have seen one in northern New Mexico, outside Santa Fe. In the sky, I saw a worm like, probably was quite big, wasn't like small like a worm, but a very worm-like creature poke its head out of what looked like it was just sky, come crawling out, sort of like that, kind of looked around a little bit, came over here, and found another entry, another gate, and scooched his way through it and was gone.
Weird.
I watched it all happen in broad day.
Wow.
Broad day. And that's what convinced me that the book that Wilhelm Reich, if you remember Dr. Wilhelm Reich, he talked about, he had a special film, infrared film, not near infrared, but infrared, and was taking pictures of plasma life forms, entities, in the desert. I think it was Death Valley Desert, because it has to be dry in order to see these things. Uh, and um, and then Trevor Constable, wonderful man, very much a student of Wilhelm Reich. He wrote a book called The Cosmic Pulse of Life.
Okay.
And in there he has about 20 or 30 photos of entities that he took pictures of with his infrared film in the desert. These are all plasma life forms. You can't see them because plasma is matter, but it's a very fine matter. And it's very hard to see. And that's why what happened to me in New Mexico with that wormy looking guy, or snake, I guess you could call, was quite extraordinary.
And would this have come, like, how does this relate to geoengineering in general? Is it something they're messing with, spraying, or I'm a little
No,
confused.
I think that this creature that I saw, my guess would be, my educated guess would be that it's from another dimension.
Okay.
And it has access to this dimension, possibly because our entire atmosphere now is electrically charged.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the word ionized really means. It's
Yeah.
all electrically charged thanks to our strange relationship with the ionosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And while the military certainly, I know they know about these plasma life forms. I know they do. And
Yeah.
they may be creating some of them by now. I don't know. I know there's a patent for something called inorganic life forms. That's the patent name, inorganic life forms.
Yeah.
And I, for the life of me, don't quite realize what that means. But Joseph, what's Joseph's last name? I always forget his last name. Joseph Farrell, Joseph Patrick Farrell, uh, a wonderful writer and a good friend of Catherine Austin Fitts. Joseph and I correspond a bit about plasma and what plasma is, what it isn't. And I am very fascinated by plasma because ether, that's another thing I'm fascinated by. Ether was removed from our scientific lexicon in the
Yes.
1920s. And
Yeah, they don't talk about the ether. They're leaving that
no,
out. Yeah.
they, in fact, Einstein was told to never use it again, and he used to use it all the time.
Oh,
So
wow.
my idea of ether is that it's really the universe that's 99.999% ether. And then when an electromagnetic event happens in the cosmos out there in space, then plasma will activate, and it is a very fine form of matter. And I think there's tons of creatures that are in plasma bodies. And the question is, have they ever been able to enter this realm? Well, maybe not. Maybe now that it's all electrified with the ionizing, maybe now they're coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? And then the military would like that because then they could use those entities for, well, any number of nefarious things. And it's just a thought. I haven't had time to really spend a lot of time on it, but Joseph has written a really interesting book that covers plasma. And then he has also read Robert Temple's, I think his name is Temple, Robert Temple's book. I don't know it by heart, sorry, that also talks about plasma. So we're on the trail because a lot of people don't understand the relationship between ether and plasma. Rudolf Steiner people, or the scientists in anthroposophy, Rudolf Steiner's belief system, they understand, and it's very unfortunate that ether was taken out of our vocabulary, and it was done in a very sneaky, secret society way,
Of course.
in
Yeah.
order to let others take the lead, and they make money off of us, that kind of thing. Very
Yeah.
low, very low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's really interesting part of it all. I never really, I know I've read and you've touched on it, but this seventh application is probably I've seen a lot of UFOs though. I've had a lot of experience with that, and some nights because I like to watch the sky. It's a highway
Yeah,
up there. There's all kinds of stuff
it's a
going on.
highway. Well, we
Yeah.
have the technology, you know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But is how much of it is a real ship and how much of it is plasma?
Yeah. Don't
And
know.
a self-conscious life form. I mean, some of those, those medieval paintings that have UFOs in them.
Yeah.
I often wonder, oh, I wonder if that was plasma, like
Yeah.
a being taking the form of a ship and going for a little peek at the human beings. I mean, I'm willing to consider that. It's just that I'm not willing to jump on the alien bandwagon. I'd rather jump on the demon bandwagon than the alien bandwagon. Though, regarding the reptilian comment you made, let me just
Mm-hmm.
add this. I studied MK Ultra very deeply for 10 years because I think my father was one of its victims. He was a Navy intelligence scientist, a very brilliant guy, a very bad father, and is really was the bane of my existence for many years. Um, but imagine that he could be aware of many different types of the technology that we had, and then I end up looking in the basement and under the rug and everywhere in order to blow the whistle on HARP. I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, I think I know now where that impetus came from and why I've spent 20 years of my
Yeah.
life pursuing this terrible weapon system.
Yeah. Well, I haven't done the work you've done, of course, but I have been aware since 1998 of the spraying, and I go, wow, that's a long time now. Be talking about trying to tell everybody about it, and I
Yeah.
never, like we said in the pre-show, we didn't expect to be doing the things that we're doing. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way I would have thought my life went to go in this direction. Like, what? What am I doing? But hey, I have to. I
Well,
feel like I have to.
I think it's the biggest weapon system there is.
Yeah.
This is
Mm-hmm.
it. And Steiner was very clear that the Earth's destiny is our destiny. We're like this. It isn't a matter of, oh well, get rid of the humans and then Earth will be fine. No, sorry. It's that we are completely intertwined with the planet. Completely. So I love this planet. And every bit
Yeah.
I'm doing for the atmosphere, I'm doing for your brain is my hope.
Well, you're doing a good job, and I appreciate your work. And we should probably close it out. But I wanted to make sure people know where to get your books and
Thank you.
all your material.
Yeah. So the first two books were published by Feral House. They're still in business, though Adam Parfrey is dead. And then the next book is my book, and that you can get at any bookstore. They can order it for you. It's a print on demand kind of thing. And then these two last books, one of which is in print now, the Geoengineered Transhuman, you again can get at any bookstore because the publisher, Inner Traditions, is worldwide
Mm-hmm.
and has distribution worldwide.
Okay, good, good. And your website?
And then
Where
I
you?
have and I have a Patreon site. I
Oh,
don't
good.
have a website anymore. It got seriously hacked, and I had to close it
Oh,
down. But the my Patreon site, I comment every day on all sorts of things, and you can come free, or you can pay $10 to have it delivered to your desktop.
okay, good. What's your Patreon? Just Elana Freeland.
I think it's just Elana Freeland. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, it's good to have you on again, and all that is so important. I always
Yeah.
consider this like, right up there with just about everything that's important. And I've been saying this for years, but this
Yeah.
needs to be taken seriously. It needs to be move out
Oh,
of just
yeah.
conspiracy researchers camp and into professional fields. And like, we need doctors, scientists, climatologists,
Yeah.
specialists, all to really like be on the counterattack. Because once they get out of this, moves out of a conspiracy camp, and taken seriously, you get more brilliant minds in there, I think, that would be able
Yeah.
to contribute. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how you would stop this now. There was a time when I could imagine it, but ever since they did the jab, the counter system, the corollary system is in us now.
Hmm.
And I really don't know of a way out of that. But hey, that's not to say there isn't a way out. I just haven't discovered it.
Yeah, I don't know either, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be talked about and shouldn't be um
Exactly.
like it's easy for a lot of people to go, well, what's the point, we're all gonna
Yeah.
die, kind of. But no, I don't. I've never
No,
been
I
one of
don't go.
that. No. No.
Absolutely. I'm not with that camp either.
No idea. Well, Ilana, thank you for coming on, and I'll have you on
Thank
again, and
you.
we'll talk some more.
All
All right.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.